I'm going Sam Darnold. He is a top 3 fantasy quarterback. Jawan Jennings, he bursts for 46 points. You better go get him now.
Chuba Hubbard, you can't deny this guy. This guy has been productive when he's played.
It's the #1 pickup for week 4. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Catching a Vibe. I'm your host, Drew. I'm joined by my co-host, Mike. Week 4 is here, guys, and it's time to talk waiver wire. It's been a weird start to the season. We all can agree on that. I mean, one week a team looks like a real contender, then the next week they look like the worst team in the league. And you got the Panthers, who everybody in their fan base was like, sell the team. And this week they came out and beat the crap out of the Raiders. And Andy Dalton looked like prime Joe Montana. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. To me, I think it's upside down world right now. We got all these quarterbacks in there. We're left for dead. You got Andy Dalton, Sam Darnold, all these quarterbacks that are now stepping up and putting up big points, really scoring a lot. It's just so hard to find out what teams are the pretenders and what teams are the contenders. I mean, we're in week 3. Maybe they'll start straightening out a little bit, but right now it's really hard to figure out who's who in this league right now with all the injuries and everything else in play. So we're going to hit the waiver wire and see if we can help you out.
Just a quick note, like you look at like the top 10 quarterbacks drafted in your league, they're like outside the top 10. Guys undrafted are in the top 5, like Sam Darnold and Baker, like guys like that are in the top 10.
So I put down, talk about that, Patrick Mahomes is Mr. Everything, and he's had 15 fantasy points first week, 13 and 16. He has yet to crack 20, and we had Sam Darnold and Andy Dalton both do that this last week. So, I mean, what are you going to do? It's so hard, you know, but you're going to keep marching Patrick Mahomes out there. Yeah. You're not going to bench him because of that. But, geez, these guys are putting up over 20 fantasy points.
Right. All right. Let's start off. At number 5, I'm going tight end here. There's not many great options, but Tyler Conlin, the guy we haven't mentioned yet, he finally got involved with the offense Thursday. And, man, were those Jets offense looking good. 5 catches, 93 yards. And the Jets are finding their stride. A-Rod looked like the old A-Rod. And I want to grab as many players from the Jets offense that I can. So Conklin, if you're weak at tight end, and with how terrible the tight end position has been performing, Tyler Conklin is a nice pickup, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely a good pickup. I agree. I mean, these tight ends, man, so many people out there drafted these guys high, and they're not returning any of that value for where you pick these guys at. So Conklin is a great look at, great add-on to your bench, or even plug in and play. Because I think you're right with Aaron Rodgers likes them little check downs, finds the guys up the seam routes, any of those options there. So he could be a really good steal, I think, especially the way the tight ends are playing. One other guy I want to mention is Cole Kmet. You know, he looked really good this last weekend, and you know, maybe he could go out there and help your team out. Especially these tight ends are ugly.
The thing that concerns me about Kmet is like the Bears have so many options. Like, once Keenan Allen comes back, what is Kmet's role in that offense?
Yeah, what's his role? You're right, exactly. How much target share is he going to get? He's probably going to fall back to the 4th fiddle on the team. But like I said, if you're hurting that tight end, he's worth a look. He's worth the add on your rosters, because some of these other guys you have on your rosters aren't getting it done. So maybe you could add him, drop somebody and put him on there.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, number 4, guys. I'm going Jaylen Tolbert. Jaylen, we talked about last week, being a guy to look out for. But yeah, another good game Sunday. He's rostered in 6.4% of leagues. He had 3 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. And teams are trying their best to take away CD out of the game. I think Jaylen is going to get a lot of opportunities with the Cowboys being such a pass-heavy team, Tolbert's going to be a good look.
I agree. I mean, you look at, like, you watched last games, Dak was dead in the first 3 quarters and then just lit it up in the fourth quarter, put up so many points that you want to have a piece of the pie, piece of that team. And he's one of the guys that I really like. I talked about him last week.
Yeah.
Jaylen is a guy that you must have. He was on 60 snaps last game. That's 75% of the offensive plays. He's only rostered in 6% of the league, so you should go out and get him. I think he's an add to your bench. Yeah. Definitely with that high-flying offensive team that loves passing the ball around, you got to have him, I think. Because I think he's proved that he can step up and outperform Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
So I think he's a better option there. He's a guy I'm high on. I like part of him.
Right.
I'm going to go with Emanuel Wilson. I think he really stepped up at Green Bay. He's going to be, to me, a really good handcuff for Josh Jacobs. You know, I think at the way the league's shaping up, these guys are getting banged up and hurt. You want to have a handcuff guy on your team. So that Marshawn Lloyd was looking like he was going to be the backup, but he's injured again. They talked about him maybe going on the IR. So he's the clear number 2 right now. Emanuel Wilson just got a bump up. So I like him. So he's only owned in 2%, so you won't have any problem really going out and getting him. But Green Bay's dedicated to the run. You seen Josh Jacobs the week before. What did he have? 23 rushes? That's unheard of in
150
this league.
yards.
Yeah, right now. So you want a piece of Green Bay's offense, and I think if you need some handcuff action where you're going to cover Josh Jacobs up, I would definitely take a look at Emanuel Wilson from Green Bay.
Man, the Packers are sitting pretty, you know. They lose Love, and they're like, oh, shit. Like, it's going to be hard to come back from. But they won the 2 games.
Yeah. I mean, they put Malik in there, and he's won the 2 games. They were kind of figuring they were trying to hurry up and rush Jordan Love back to get him out there because they thought they were going to dump these 2 games, and he goes out and wins them. So now they are sitting really, really good, and they might leave Jordan out with so he can recover a lot better than trying to rush him out there. So the way Malik Willis is looking, I would, kind of keep Jordan Love on the sideline and keep him healthy.
Man, the Titans look dumb. All right, number 3, I'm going Sam Darnold. Maybe the front runner for comeback player of the year. I mean, it's cool to see. You know, he got all that hate from the Jets for a second, then he gets bounced around a couple teams, and it looks like he's finally found his home with the Vikings. I mean, he is a top 3 fantasy quarterback so far. Sam Darnold. That is ridiculous to me. He's rostered in 16% of leagues. You got to go get him with how bad the quarterbacks have been performing this year so far.
I agree with Sam Darnold. He threw for 181 yards this last game, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere Sam Darnold has gone, the coaches love this guy. He is a studying machine. He knows plays. He knows the playbook. This guy, talent-wise, is good. He's just never been able to find that niche. And now maybe he's found it at Minnesota.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm going to kind of come off of your quarterback play. I want to mention Andy Dalton. I mean, he looked great in his game. I mean, he went in there and smashed the Raiders where everybody thought Carolina's the worst team in the league, but he's went out there and performed, put up 24 fantasy points, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns. The thing I love about those 2 quarterbacks is they're gunslingers. They're fearless. They don't care. They're just filling guys that are winning a job. So they'll go out there and throw the ball all over the field. The only thing I don't like about them is they don't offer the rushing upside, but what they don't offer there, they're going to throw the ball around the yard and put up major passing yards for your team. So I would look at them. Like I said earlier, I mean, these guys have already outperformed Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
With what they put in this last week. Mahomes has not had a 4-down passing touchdown game yet this season. I don't even think he has 4 touchdown passes for the season so far. So I got to give props to these two guys. And like I said, man, this QB position is totally flipped upside down with these guys that are coming in fearless. You know, I look at even Bo Nix is a guy you might want to look at. He's not a gunslinger so much, but he offers some rushing upside to your team. So, in the way Denver looked, he might be someone you might want to put on your bench as an ad.
He has some promise, no doubt. All right, number 2. I'm going with the guy who I said you should pick up last week, Jawan Jennings. He burst for 46 points. He had 11 catches for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kittle has a bad hamstring. Debo's going to miss some time with a strained calf. And now they're talking about CMC might be out for the rest of the year. So, Jawan Jennings, you better go get him now.
I agree. He looks spectacular. And every time this guy has had his moment in the spotlight, he's performed.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to last year's Super Bowl, he could have been the MVP. The only reason why he wasn't is because they did not win the Super Bowl. Right. They never picked the MVP of the losing team.
Right.
So I agree. I think he's always performed. He looks awesome when he's out there running routes. He's got to be picked up. And maybe he's a little bit on borrowed time, but I think he's still going to squeeze in there.
Yeah.
Because I think Debo's going to come back, get his play. I think he shifts Brandon Ayuk to the side a little bit because he's going to get his playing time. They cannot shy away from putting Jawan Jennings out there on the field. He's looked awesome when he's been out there. So I agree with that. He is definitely number 2. So a guy I want to mention, I don't think he's number 2, but I like Rico Gathers from Dallas. Right, I think this guy is slowly earning his number 1 running back for Dallas. I mean, in Dallas is that offense that you want a piece of the pie because they score a lot. And he's always going to be in the red zone. He's only owned in what do I have? 37%. So he's still available out there for you. Let's just say this last week, he was out on the field for 37 snaps to Zeke's 15 snaps. So that's 47% of the offensive plays. Rico Gathers was out on the field, and Zeke was only out 19%. So we're seeing the shift of this guard right here, and I want a piece of Dallas's offense. I definitely want a piece.
Yeah, yeah. All right, number 1, he's rostered in a good percentage of leagues, but he had an unbelievable game. Chuba Hubbard. 67% of leagues. He played great against the Raiders. He had 21 attempts, 114 rushing yards, 5 catches. You love that. 55 yards and a touchdown. The Panthers look completely different with Andy versus Bryce Young. And the Panthers were talking high about Chuba the whole preseason. And, you know, people were saying, oh, Jonathan Brooks is going to take this backfield. I don't think so. The guy just tore his ACL last year, and we've seen how many running backs have tore their ACL then not performed the next year. I think he's going to take Miles Sanders' spot as the RB2. Chuba Hubbard has been playing good so far. I think his position's safe, and that's why he's the number 1 pickup for week 4.
I agree. I think you're right with the Jonathan Brooks. I think he comes back and he gets limited play time. I think he's going to be eased on really slow. And I think Chuba Hubbard, you can't deny this guy. This guy has been productive when he's played. And the first 2 weeks weren't an indication of that. This last week is who Chuba Hubbard was. You guys all went out there and wanted to draft this guy. I think he's worth it. I think he is probably the number 1 pick overall because he's not rostered as high and he's available. You can still get him. I agree with Chuba Hubbard. I like him. All right, so my honorable mention guy I want to talk about is Bucky Irving. I think this guy, with the limited play he's got out there, he's explosive. He's already looking like he's the better running back in this backfield. I think he's eventually going to take over the number 1 spot. He played 18 snaps last week. With that being done, he still outperformed Rachaad White. So I definitely want to talk about him. I think you should go out And if nothing else, have him as a handcuff. So if White does go down on an injury, he's worth having.
Yeah, yeah. Honorable mention too. I have Deontay Johnson. I know he's pretty highly rostered, but if he's not, you gotta go pick him up too. He's receiver 1 for the Panthers, and Thielen tore the shit out of his hamstring too, so he's going to miss some time. Deontay Johnson.
I agree. I think the Panthers are definitely got another jolt in their arm, thinking that we can actually go out and play in the NFL, and we're not the worst team in the league. And Andy Dalton is just going to go out there and throw it around. So you're right. Deontay Johnson is worth picking up. If he's out there in your waiver wire, I would definitely go pick him up, put him on your roster, because if nothing else, he's a good roster play in case these bye weeks start coming in. You can use him as a second or a third receiver on your roster, depending on how your league's shaped up. But he's worth having on your team.
Yeah. All right. Is that it?
Yeah.
That's all we got for week 4? All right.
I'm sure. Hopefully this all helps you out. I mean, we're trying to get this. A lot of these guys are, going to be more fill-ins for your roster. But some of these guys, I think, are eventually – it's a long season. There's 17 games. We're only 3 games in. So some of these guys might come into play and be a big league winner, let's just say, for middle or late end of the year. So I would think that, now's the time to start filling in your roster.
Yeah. All right, guys. That wraps up the Waiver Wire Week 4 video. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please go ahead, give us a like. If you're new here, subscribe. Comment down what you're thinking, what players you like. Love to hear from you guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.